Hey guys, what is up? This is Kazi from cleverprogrammer.com and you are watching Codecademy Part 7. Okay, let's get started. So we are in Unit 5. This means we've done more than 33%, you guys. 33%. That's like the definition of 1/3. Alright, so we're almost there. Lists and dictionaries. So we're going to be covering, like I said in the last video, some really powerful constructs in Python. Lists and dictionaries, all right? They are easy to understand. Okay, they're easy. They're fairly easy, but they're really powerful. So let's get straight to it. Great job for making it this far. Okay, introduction to lists. So they're just giving us an introduction to lists. How I like to think of lists is like a bucket, right? Actually, I just made that up. I don't actually think of it like that. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's good to think of it like a bucket where you can put multiple things in there and that bucket could hold it. Okay, so for instance, imagine I told you create a variable called zoo_animals and store a bunch of zoo animals in there. Well, you could say penguin and just a string, right, without using actually any fancy lists. So you could say penguin, seal, elephant, running out of animal names here, lion. I keep wanting to write banana, but okay, penguin, seal, elephant, and lion, right? You could say, well, that's a perfectly fine way to do it. Okay. But what if you want to pull out seal? You're going to have a hard time doing that, right? What if you want to pull out the second? What if I told you, what's the second animal? Pull out the second animal from zoo animals. So let's just take it to repl.it and paste it there. Actually, should I share this? Okay. So what I've just done effectively is I've shared this. So if you go to this link here, you can see all of this code that I typed. Okay, so if you actually go to this link, you can see that code that we worked on in the last video. All right, so I'm gonna call it Clever Programmer Functions. Right? Cool. Save. Yeah, I think the link is not that one. DION. Okay, great. Now let's open up a new page. Languages, Python 3. And let's delete all that. Okay, so I'm gonna take that, oops, and I'm gonna paste that right here, right, this one. So check it out. If I said print, if I want to get the second element, that's gonna be kind of, and there's gonna be an ugly way to get it. I'm gonna say zoo animals, and then I have to like count. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to say start from the 8th position and go to 9, 10, 11. Okay, so start from 8th position and go up to the 11th position. The first one means start, the last one means stop, but generally it's stop and then stop one element short. Okay, so it's in up to but not including the last one. So if I print it out, you're going to see seal. But this was a very cumbersome way to figure it out, right? Second element, I can't just do it without looking. I can't just look away and say 1 and then, or 2, and then it gives me seal. I have to do this where I have to eyeball it and look at it and see how much. Now, what if there were 100,000 animals and I wanted, the 35,000 one? You're going to have a lot of trouble figuring that out. However, if it's a list, right? Like a bucket. Let's put this here. Boom, boom. Let's go there. Now, in this scenario, if all I have to do is I go zoo animals, and if I want to get penguin, I can go 0. Or if I want seal, I can just go 1. And when I run it, look at how beautiful that is. None of that string slicing and going from 8 to 12 and, you know, doing something like ninjas would do in jiu-jitsu. You're being very precise. None of that stuff, right? We're not here to do surgery. We're really here to do programming. So let's keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. We're going to follow that. So lists are great to keep a bunch of things together, right? Or otherwise, we just create regular variable name and store a string for one animal, right? If we wanted only one animal, I would just say something like penguin. But if you want to do multiple animals, then it's much better to create a list. Okay. Okay, so you see they have a list at the top. If I call len on this function len on a list, it works very similarly. So I'm gonna say print len. I'm gonna go at the end and I'm gonna do this, right? And I'm not gonna say zoo animals of 1. I'm gonna say just call it on this entire thing. So what do you think it's gonna return to me? Do you think it's gonna return to me the letters in penguin plus the number of letters in seal plus the number of letters in elephant plus the number of letters in lion, sum it up and then return it? Or do you think it's going to return to me 4 because there are 4 items in the bucket? It's going to return to me 4. Okay, you see that little 4 right there? That's why it's actually returning that, because there's 4 items. So here you see if the len of zoo animals is greater than 3. Well, is it greater than 3? You have 1, 2, 3 animals. And obviously you separate it with a comma right here. Okay, so we have 3 animals. So this part is going to evaluate to 3. Is 3 greater than 3? False. So it's not going to print any of this. But if that was the case, if this was somehow 4 and this whole thing evaluated to true, then you would go down here and you would say the first animal at the zoo is plus zoo animal of 0, right? So what that would look like is, if I ran that print statement, yes, I'm up. My gosh. Okay, if I read this print statement right, boom, and ran it, you'll see it says the first animal at the zoo is and we use the indexing. This is called indexing. Whenever you put a number in these brackets and get the element at that particular index, it's called indexing. So here we get the 0th item from the list, which is really the first item if you're thinking how you're used to thinking in math and in human language. This is going to get you the first element, and if I go 1, now it's going to get you the second element, which is the seal. Okay, so we're concatenating this string with the 0th element. So here we're concatenating strings. Okay, that's why you see this little plus sign here. And then it's the same thing here. Second animal at the zoo is zoo animal of 1. Third animal at the zoo is zoo animal of 2. And you get the idea. I'm assuming they want us to add another animal here. Oh, it actually says 1 animal is missing. All right, so let's just see what their explanation is. Lists are a data type you can use to store a collection of different pieces of information as a sequence under a single variable name. Look at how boring that sounds. Yeah, just put me to sleep reading it. I don't even want to read it again. But essentially, it's just a list of things in one place, right? That's what's called a list. It's like a bucket. It's a list of things. You just put it all in there in one place. You can also have an empty list. So right here, you see, it's just an open close bracket. That's just an empty list. And if you call the function len, L-E-N, on that empty list, it's going to give you back a 0, right? Cool. The list zoo animals has 3 items. Check them out in line 1. Go ahead and add a 4th. Just enter the name of your favorite animal as a string on line after the final comma before closing. So here, what is my favorite animal? I would have to go with koala bear. I really love koala bears. They're really cute. But I don't know if I want to hold one because they're dangerous and they sleep for, I think, like 20 plus hours. So, okay. So this is great. Let's run it. Oh, this part actually should not be true. It should be if len of zoo animals is greater than 3. Okay, so let's run it again because that's what it actually was before I changed it. Let's run it. Okay, so I passed it anyways, right? I hacked my way through it. Okay, so access by index. So you see now they're talking about the concept of index, which is what I alluded to earlier. So let's talk about this, okay? All right, you can access an individual item on the list by its index. So it's simple, how I was showing you earlier. If you want to get the first number here, you do numbers of 0. And if you want to get the second number here, you do numbers 2. Yeah? So this is actually the third number. So that's why we put 2, because we start from 0. And here we're adding basically this whole thing will turn to 5 and this whole thing will turn to 7, right? So that's really the main part behind it. List indices begin with 0, not 1. So they're saying that an exclamation mark. Computer scientists love to start counting from 0. And there are good reasons for it, which I might talk about later, like not in Codecademy series, in one of my other videos, because yeah, it's a tangent, so we don't need to discuss it right now. Write a statement that prints the result of adding the second and fourth items of the list. Make sure to access the list by index. So we just have to write a statement that prints the result of adding the second and fourth items of the list. So what they mean when they're saying second and fourth is 6 and 8. So second and fourth. So we're actually going to say here numbers of 1 plus numbers of 3. Okay, so yeah, so give that a try and see what happens. Maybe give it a shot and run it in REPL. Okay, so yeah, that person really wouldn't leave me alone. So okay, new neighbors. All right, new neighbors. Write an assignment statement that will replace the item that currently holds the value tiger. Great. So now they're talking about how you can change things in lists, which is so awesome. Okay, you can't do that if you had a string. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let me comment this bad boy and this one as well. Delete this guy. Let's write a print statement. Now, let's say I wanted to make the first element or the second element. I wanted to make it tiger, right? What I would do is I would say zoo animals get the seal, right? This would give me the seal and say make that equal to tiger. Simple as that. Now if I do print zoo animals, look at that, right? And if I put a print statement before changing everything to tiger and run it, you can see that it was seal, and then when I did that whole thing with zoo animals of 1 equal tiger, now it changed the seal to the tiger, right? Now imagine if we had it as a string, zoo animals is equal to penguin and seal, right? How I did it before. And I found out that if I pulled from 8 to 12, I would get that seal, right? If I did print zoo animals 2 from 8 to 12, that'll pull out the seal portion of it. And if I say change that to tiger, whoops, I have to take out the print statement. You get an error because string object does not support item assignment. Okay? What that means is that you can't change string items. This is going to allude to a really tough concept later on called immutable data types. But what that really means is something you can't change. Okay? It's not that hard. So they're going to make it sound like mutable objects versus immutable objects when it gets in depth, but at the very base of it, at surface level, is pretty simple. So, yeah, string data type, right? You can't change it, versus list data type, which makes it very easy to find the items and then change them. And in string data type, it's hard to find the items and change them. Okay, hard to find the item and impossible to change it. Cool. So I'll leave that there. And leave this part here, right? All right, let's go back. So item that currently holds a value tiger with another animal. So what they're showing us, as you can see here, tiger is the third element, and we need to change it with another element. Okay, so we're gonna do zoo animals of 3, right? That's how I get my tiger, the third element, and I'm gonna say koala bear. Yeah, they decided to change it. We're gonna change it right back. Okay, congratulations, you finished this section. List capabilities and functions, beautiful. So we have finished this section, and let's go on to list capabilities and functions, you guys. Late arrivals and list length. Okay, so this is gonna be a really nice section because it has to do with lists, and lists are such a common thing you're gonna be doing in programming. Like the last 30 or 40 programs I wrote, none of them I wrote without a list. So lists were useful. And also the current job place that I'm working for, and I'm doing software development work for them, I'm using lists like over and over and over again. So it's a really powerful tool at your disposal. So it's good to learn it well. A list doesn't have to have a fixed length. You can add items to the end of a list. So basically they're saying, like, let's say we have a list here, right? Like letters A, B, C. Now, we can add more things to this, and in a much easier way. Like you don't have to redefine this list and go A, comma, B, comma, C, and then you go comma, D. Right? You don't have to do it like that. There's a way to automate that process. So one thing that we can use is called append. Append means to put something at the end. Okay? So what that would mean is we put something right here. Got it? Not prepend, which would mean put something right here, but append right over here. So I'm gonna go letters dot append, and I'm gonna say D. And now if I print out letters, you're gonna see that it has a D at the end. Cool. So it's a method that we use called append, which is very common, one of the most commonly used methods. Okay, so print len letters, done. And then if you print the len of letters, the length obviously is going to be 4 because A, B, C, D. And yeah. All right, so we print out 4 the length of the letters list. Now, instructions. On lines 5, 6, and 7, append 3 more items to the suitcase list. Just like the second line of the example above. Maybe bring a bathing suit? Haha. Okay, so we're gonna say suitcase.append. I don't know, sunscreen. Sounds like we're going outside. Suitcase.append bathing suit. And suitcase.append, I don't know, towels, right? Because we might be lying down on the beach and chilling and having a jolly old time. Then set list length equal to the length of the suitcase. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to say len of suitcase. And without even running this code, let's figure out and see what the length of the suitcase is going to be. Well, we have an empty list here. We start off with an empty suitcase. We throw in sunglasses, then we throw in sunscreen, then we throw in bathing suit, then we throw in towels. Sounds like if you know how to count, you'll probably know what len of suitcase is, right? This part should evaluate to 4. Okay, there are %d. Don't get thrown off by this %d. All this means is it's a placeholder for this variable in parentheses right here, list length. So this part will eventually turn into list length, which will eventually turn into 4, because we have 4 right here. And then this will turn to 4, which will make this %d here turn into 4. Okay, so it's just a placeholder, and they use %d here. Okay, print. The reason why they didn't put 4 here is because what if you put 6 items? What if you put 10 items? So it needs to be able to change that number of items every time. Print suitcase. Cool, we did it. Okay, let's move on. All right, we have suitcase with sunglasses, hat, passport, laptop, suit, and shoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. Now, if we go from the 0th item to the 2nd item, we should get sunglasses and hat, okay? So let's give it a try. I'm gonna take this and copy it, go to repl.it, paste it here, and anytime you're confused, just come here and run it, okay? Don't let your ego get in the way of you learning, like, oh, I'm too smart to try this and run it. I just got it in my head, everything. Even if sometimes you think you know it, just go and try it anyways, because it's good to build that muscle memory. And it's just, you know, it gives you practice and you'll learn. You really learn these things that way. Okay, if I run this, you see it says sunglasses and hat. Again, it starts from the number you give it, so start, and then it stops at the number you give it, except it's like stop -1. It stops right before the number you give it. Okay, so if you give it the address of passport, which is at location 2, is going to stop right before passport. It's going to stop up to hat. So it's going to give you the first 2 elements. All right. Now get the 3rd and 4th items. So how are we going to get the 3rd and 4th items? Suitcase of 2 and 4. Okay? Because this is really the 3rd item and this is the 4th item. That's another reason why we started with 0 and stop before the other number, is so you can see we do 0 to 2 and then here we just do 2. If we had to do 0 to 3, right, we would have to do, or I'm sorry, yeah, if we did 0 to 3, now it's going to be a little bit trickier. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I lost my train of thought. Let's keep moving on. Let's pretend that never happened. 4. Okay. Cool. Let's keep on rolling. Now, last one. But one point I would like to make is, because of how we stop before that last element and we start from 0, to get the length of how many things you're getting, all you have to do is the stop you give it minus the start. So stop minus start will equal the length. Okay, so in this case, you have, or let's just stick with how Python does it. So stop minus start. So in our case, the length will be equal to 4 minus 2, right? And that will give you 2. So that is one reason why it's useful. So see, I do know what I'm talking about. All right, let's go down here. On line 4, create a list called middle. Only the 2 blah, blah, blah. Create a last made up of the last 2 items. So what I'm going to say is suitcase and start from 4. Right? Whoops. Oh, the point I was trying to make was, if, let's say you wanted to get, if you wanted to go to this item, right? And you, instead of wanting to say this for hat, you said, like, instead of saying this to go from sunglasses to hat, you wanted to say 1. Well, the problem now is that if you do 1 here, you're going to start from hat, right? So to make it easier for you, instead of always having to do 1 plus 1 here, so basically starting from 2, it's much simpler to just go 2. Okay, that's where I'm going to start off from, because that's where I left off. Okay, that was the point I was trying to make earlier. Now in suitcase, we start from 4 again without even thinking, because I see 4 is where 3 is really where I stopped at. All right, and so I'm gonna start from the 4th element because we went up to but not including that, and then I'm gonna go 5, which is really the 6th element, shoes. So if I hit save and submit, what's the problem here? Or sorry, okay, I should really be doing this, right? Okay. Or another way to do it is just not put anything there, just leave it. Okay, start next lesson. Slicing lists and strings. So I showed you guys a little bit of slicing strings. So here we effectively go slice up to cat, slice dog, and then frog, and then we can create a list based on those 3 guys. Alright, so if I put this guy here, and if I want to get cat, well, how will I do it? Animals from 0 or blank to 3. 0, 1, 2, 3 is the D part, but remember, we stopped right before it, so that'll pull out cat. So cat is equal to that. If I want to do dog, I can say animals of 3. Remember that trick? Now dog is 3 letters, so I can effectively go and say, 3 plus 3, because 3 is where I'm at, and I want to go 3 letters more from it. But let's keep it consistent and go step by step. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So we can also do 6. Now let's print out cat and dog, and let's see if it's actually what we expect, right? So we got cat and dog. just like we expected. Or if we did that trick of 3 plus 3 without really thinking about it, because we know it's a 3-letter guy we have there, and we're starting from the 3rd position. And then we can go for frog. The trick we can do is, well, we left off at 6, so let's start from 6. We left off at the G, and so now if I put 6 here, that starts me off from the F, and just colon. So that means keep going until the thing ends. So if I print out frog here as well, you'll see that it says cat, dog, and frog, just like we expected. Or I can count. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I can put 9 here. Or sorry, 10 here. And right. We have to go 1 after that, and it'll give us frog. So it's just better to leave it as blank if you want to go all the way to the last one. Cool. Another trick is I think you should be able to do -1, and a lot of the times that should work, but not in this case. So let's go run, and here's what we get. But to get the last element, a lot of the times if you want that, you can do -1 like this. That'll give you the last element. Okay, so if I go boom, boom, you can see that I get the last letter in this case. So I get the G. Cool, let's go back. So what we did, we can just literally copy and paste that, right? Because that's what they're effectively trying to do. Okay. Save and submit. Boom, done. Okay, so this video is getting pretty long. I'm gonna cut it off right here, and I will see you guys in maintaining order section right after this video. So thanks for watching. Great job keeping up to this point. And I would like to just ask you if you could please subscribe. That would help the channel out greatly. Leave a comment if you got any questions. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.